movies, TV shows, animations, they all have one thing in common. One thing that can make or break the entire viewing experience. One thing that is almost as iconic, if not more iconic, than the protagonist. And that is the bad guy. The antagonist. The villain of the story. Villains come in different shapes and sizes. Some more memorable than others. Personally, I love bad guys because they are more interesting than the protagonist. And the great ones are dark reflections of the hero, if they took an evil path. In my opinion, villains fall in one of 5 categories that I have made that describe every type of villain, especially in animation. And stick around for the secret 6th villain type that I am sure you will understand as soon as you see it. So make sure to like and subscribe. And a spoiler warning for those of you who care.
I'm a force of nature.
A force of nature cannot be reckoned with. They can't be stopped by mortal means. They are the be-all and end-all. This type of villain is normally depicted as a natural disaster, like a tsunami, or an earthquake, or Jada Pinkett Smith involved in anything these days.
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with August.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes, it was a relationship.
But in animation, the best depiction of a force of nature that I could find was the wolf from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, for those of you who didn't know, the wolf was introduced as a bounty hunter hell-bent on killing Puss, always popping up when Puss least expects it, and scaring the bejesus out of him.
I just love the smell of fear.
This is supposed to be a kid's film? His signature whistle makes your heart start racing before he is even on screen, showing you how immense his presence is. Before we even meet the wolf, there is a great action set piece where we see Puss's combat ability at its peak, as he takes down a giant with ease. Then, with Puss's first encounter with the wolf, we see Puss humiliated. Even his signature cartwheel doesn't work on him. In the audience's eye, this translates Puss's abilities and power level over to the wolf, even surpassing Puss. We even see the wolf use a blade to cut Puss, who earlier stated that he has never been touched by a blade. But as the film goes on, we find out that the wolf isn't just a mere bounty hunter, but actually death. And he doesn't mean that metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically.
I'm death, straight up.
He is literally the personification of death. And how do you beat death? You can't. This creates a new dynamic because moviegoers these days are now conditioned to never really feel fear for the protagonist, because no matter how dire the situation, the good guys always defeat the bad guys, whether that be by outpowering them or outsmarting them. But with death, there is no clear way to defeat him. You can't outpower him or outsmart him, because he doesn't really desire anything, and killing Death will surely have negative backlash in the Shrek universe, or any universe really. Death is just doing his job. When it's your time to go, he makes sure you go. Yes, you could say he is taking Puss's last life early, but Death argues that Puss has not been respecting his 8 other lives, so he should do everyone a favor and take this one early. The only way Puss defeats him is by acknowledging his last life and cherishing it, which is the lesson Death wanted Puss to learn. Now imagine if Puss didn't learn this lesson, he would probably be dead.
I know I can never defeat you, Lobo, but I will never stop fighting for this life.
You know we will meet again, right?
MVP! Simp!
Now this villain trope has been done to death by Disney. We can't just have bad guys doing bad things anymore. They have to have a tragic backstory that led them down a path of crime, and it was never their fault. They're just quirky and misunderstood. And Disney seem to have a fetish for redeeming villains that they claim to be sympathetic, even though some of them are the equivalent of space Nazis who have committed mass genocide. Disney even went to the extent of creating reboots based on clearly evil and irredeemable characters in the past, but actually, because her forest was threatened by a human army, she is justified in cursing an innocent girl who has no idea what's going on. That's like, oh I don't know, remaking Snow White, who is now a strong, independent woman, a girl boss who needs no man, the main actor seemingly hating the source material, the 7 dwarves are now 7 diverse magical creatures, whatever the f that means, and the evil grandmother just wants to poison Snow White because she is misunderstood. I mean, Not even Disney would go that far to besmirch their first and most iconic story, will they?
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once.
Will they?
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
And I super enjoyed every second of it.
Oh, there are good sympathetic villains though. Villains who are, yes, doing a bad thing, but for a good cause in their eyes. For example, in the villain, Goldilocks and the Three Bears crime family from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Since Puss is our main character, he is immediately the protagonist, and anyone who opposes his goals are placed in the antagonistic role. Yes, Goldilocks attacked Puss in order to get the map to the wishing star, but her motive isn't world domination or to ruin Puss's life. She just wants to wish for a real family, which is a relatable and understandable goal that most people have. She was abandoned as a child and came across the Three Bears' home, who eventually took her in as one of their own. But deep down, Goldilocks never felt like she truly belonged. And when the Three Bears find out about her wish, they decide to help her if that makes her truly happy. And over the course of the film, Goldilocks realizes that her real family are the Three Bears, and she even sacrifices getting her wish in order to save Baby Bear, hence redeeming her as she helps Puss in the final act. Don't get it twisted though, they are still a crime family, and they are technically villains, but they're not traditionally evil in that sense.
Who the hell are you?
Bad guy.
On the flip side, there are villains who are evil for the sake of being evil. A villain through and through. There is no redeeming them because they have burnt too many bridges to turn back now. Look, I know sympathetic villains are more relatable to modern audiences as it humanizes them, but come on. Don't you enjoy it just a little bit when you watch a bad guy doing their thing and they are just unapologetically evil for it? They aren't even doing it for a greater cause where the ends justify the means.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
They're just being evil because they want to. Sometimes, people just love to watch a villain that they love to hate. This is best shown in the villain from the great fantasy film based on real IP, Jack Horner from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, Jack is evil incarnate. His goals are evil.
Once I get my wish, I'll finally have the one thing that will make me happy. All of the magic in the world. For me, and no one else gets any. Is that so much?
His motivations are petty.
I'm a real boy, no strings attached. Thank you.
What's impressive? I've been a boy the whole time.
And his morals? His morals are non-existent.
You're not gonna shoot a puppy, are you, Jack?
Yeah, in the face. Why?
Jack is a breath of fresh air that perfectly rounds out the rest of the villains from Puss in Boots and is incredibly fun to watch on screen. Even when his conscience, the cricket, calls him out and there could be a hint of change in his character.
Your wish is horrible. You're horrible. You're an irredeemable monster.
Oh, what took you so long, idiot?
Yeah, he's just a power-hungry egomaniac, not your typical person that you see in real life, and definitely not relatable, or shouldn't be relatable. But there's crazy people in this world, so look out for them. But I watch films and shows to escape from reality, so don't ever change it, Jack. Don't ever change.
Am I a joke to you?
This is probably my favourite type of villain, and is best seen in The Spot from Across the Spider-Verse, and the reason I even made this video. In the beginning, The Spot is seen as a joke, who can't even pull off a simple shop robbery. He has cool powers in opening up portals, but he has not mastered them yet. In his first fight with Spider-Man, he is called a villain of the week and is treated like a joke.
And this is the fight of our lives, right? Just a second, man. No, go ahead, take the call. Turn off your phone in a movie theater. If you don't turn it off when you're fighting me.
And this all culminates in The Spot beating himself in an embarrassing way.
Look at me! I'll make you respect me!
Ow! I am your enemy!
Well, where'd he go?
He kicked his own butt.
So at this point, we all have the same shared information. The Spot is a joke. In fact, I remember when The Spot was first announced as being a villain in the upcoming Spider-Verse sequel and thinking, The Spot? Really? That's goofball? If you are going to bring The Spot, you might as well use the Wall. That's how unthreatening The Spot is.
Look at this dude.
Wait till you see the. No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
I'm not a comic reader, and even with my limited knowledge, I knew that the spot was a joke. But the writers also knew that we knew that the spot was a joke, so they played into it by making him goofy and not seem like a threat. We all underestimated him. Throughout the film, the Spot grows in confidence and power until he becomes a multiversal threat that will have you wondering, how did I not see that coming? The reason I love these types of villains is because they are the embodiment of don't judge a book by its cover, and that people can evolve and change past your understanding. The Spot perfectly balances out being both comedic and menacing, and only a few can pull that off without diminishing their threat level. He was a great villain in a great film, and I can't wait to see more of him in the sequel, no, trilogy, in the trilogy.
Are we the baddies?
Now these guys are funny to me in an ironic sense. These are the bad guys who don't even realize that they're the bad guys. Confusing, I know, but let me explain. They are similar to sympathetic villains, except they aren't doing evil things and trying to justify it by saying it was to benefit themselves. Heroic villains, as I'm calling them now, do evil things and justify it by saying they are benefiting society, and they might not even consider the actions they are taking as evil. There are a few examples of heroic villains, but I think the most known one is Thanos, especially in Infinity War. Now, I will assume we all know what Thanos did, but Thanos truly believed that he was doing a good deed. He truly believed that halving the universe's population so that the other half can thrive and have enough resources was the best course of action. He even made it random so that it would be quote-unquote ethical. I mean, you can say, why didn't he just double the universe's resources? But that's a question for another video. Thanos was so devoted to his cause that he was willing to sacrifice his adopted daughter just so he can get the Soul Stone and further his plan. Heroic villains are misguided and probably the most dangerous types of villains in media because of how devoted they are to their cause. A recent heroic villain is Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, aka Mr. Black Force Energy himself. By the way, calling yourself Spider-Man 2099? What happens when it's a new year? Are you then Spider-Man 2100? 2101? When's it gonna end, Miguel? When is this madness gonna stop? Anyway, Miguel in Across the Spider-Verse is, and I have to say massive spoilers here, go watch the film first if you haven't, you have been warned. Miguel is antagonistic towards Miles even though they are both spider people because Miles wants to save his dad from an upcoming canon event. Now, canon events, for those of you who ignored my spoiler warning, are a set of events that occur in every spider person's life. For example, an uncle dies, giving a spider person their lesson of power and responsibility, forging them into the spider person they are today. In the film, I was wondering how come Miles has to lose both his uncle and his dad, but unluckily for Miles, his dad is about to become captain, the same time the Spot is about to exercise his N-word pass. Obviously, not about to let his dad die. Miles tells Miguel to let him go and save his dad, but Miguel can't do that. Miguel claims that saving Miles' dad could destroy the entire Spider-Verse.
It's called the Arachno-Humanoid Polymultiverse.
Oh, sorry, the entire Arachno... you know, I can't even say that. I'm just going to stick to Spider-Verse. But Miguel has a point. Apparently, he caused a universe to be destroyed by breaking a canon event himself. So you can understand why he is so adamant on stopping Miles from changing a canon event. He doesn't want another universe to be destroyed. That's why he created the Spider Society to monitor the multiverse. Miguel isn't even really a villain, just a very devoted person who doesn't want others to suffer like he did. Now, this villain is truly despicable. Feared across the Twitter spaces, has no limits. They aren't loyal to a person or a flag. Belittle everyone around them, friend or foe. A subversion of a subversion. Not all of them are evil. In fact, some of them are genuinely great. Hey girl, how you doing? But there is that distinct few that are so vile. You know who I'm talking about, right? Modern, feminist, protagonists. Now look, I want to be very clear. I have nothing against feminists or female protagonists, But when the feminist agenda becomes the reason behind a character and they plague a show with woke politics, I get so bored of it. And they are so annoying. Most of them piggyback off the fame of a beloved hero who happened to be an aging male at the time and is somehow a much better version of them without any of the downsides, pulling off stunts that don't even have a semblance of believability. They get everything on the first try, have no flaws, and even if they did have flaws, those were secretly strengths waiting to be realized. Or they are the insufferable, race-swapped version of a beloved character who has had their heart ripped out and replaced with a black void of nothingness with no love for anyone, making the Grinch look like Mr. Rogers in comparison. And what's up with that? Why do they hate love so much? Feminists seem to believe that having a loving family and being in a loving relationship is a negative and a sign of weakness. And they boast that following the corporate grind and dying alone is an actual good thing. In what world is that a good thing? Studios try to pass these women off as strong, but if the roles were reversed and they acted the same way, they would be classed as toxic and blacklisted everywhere. So yeah, that's all the villains I can think of right now. I'm pretty sure I am missing some, so tell me other types of villains in the comments down below, and which ones are your favorite. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cola out.